Okay, we're going to be learning today for Refuah Shalema for Suad Bat Daisy. It's the mother of one of the ladies who works in our office. She should have, what do we say, Refuah Shalema be'ezras Hashem. Lahavdil. There's a young man in South Africa who was nifted today. I'm just waiting for his name. His wife's expecting in the next few weeks. And his name before is Rafal Chaim Shalom ben Rivka Chava. I don't know his father's name. It hasn't been sent to me. Okay. I'll get my Tehillim and then we can start. I thought it was here.
They will miss out, not having trust.
Hey. So good morning, everybody. And we better just save everything for now, but you must remind yourselves that we do have everything recorded on the Rebbetzins YouTube. So if you need a little bit of chazara or re-input, then don't, you know where to go to. But Be'ezras Hashem, we're all going to be in Yerushalayim before next Thursday. Together. Mazel tov today on the bar mitzvah, Rebbetzin Silber, and thank you for rushing back to get to be with us and give us our chizuk for the next few weeks. But Be'ezras Hashem, we will, as I said, be in Yerushalayim. Okay. Carmen, I will get back to you.
Okay, so now you're going to mute everybody. Okay.
I've got to sign in again because they haven't changed it, but I'm getting there, so I'm learning how to do it. We're there.
You're learning. Let's say also Marcel for your father, for your parents. Say their name also. It was so generous of you to help us out. So I'm having them in mind also. They should have an Eli Neshama. And yeah, Mazel Tov on the bar mitzvah, one of my students, her son, her baby. I just ran back from here. And she comes last year, but you don't know who she is, so that's that. Okay. Hi, ladies from the UK. What's your weather?
Nice.
Yeah, warm? Yeah.
Yes, it's beautiful. Well, here in London, it's lovely and warm, beautiful sunshine. But who knows how long it will last?
Yeah. Right. Okay. I don't know if I told you Mazel Tov on the chasana.
Thank you. It's super sunny here, and the chasana was beautiful. Thank you so much for your support through that time. It was really an emotional roller coaster. Yeah. Baruch Hashem, everything went really well. Thank you so much.
Look at that.
Yeah. With Hashem's help.
Yeah, with Hashem's everything, not help. Hashem does
everything.
Good morning, Pauline. Good morning, Jenny. It's so funny because your name is Genevieve on your iPad. Good morning, Esther. And good morning, Naomi. And again, Marcel. And good morning, Ruthie. And good morning, Sharon.
And I see Lane's trying to change from Simon's iPhone to hers.
It's impossible.
It's okay. It's good to be part of Simon. There you go.
And good morning, Mrs. Morris. And good morning, Carmen. And Golda. And Mrs. MK and Mrs. R. And who's ever on the phone. And everybody.
But I just muted you by mistake.
I unmuted me, yeah. You can mute me also.
When you push mute all, you forget what happens. Okay, I'm getting there. We're getting there. This is a learning curve. First thing is that I've got my code. I can know how to find the claim, the host. This is like big stuff for me.
Good. Yeah. I was once by a shiur of the Anuka, and he was quiet for a few minutes in the shiur, in the middle of the shiur, and then he said, "It's much better just to be quiet. Let's just all sit together and be quiet." Of course, everybody started screaming, "No, no, no, teach!" But he said, "Sometimes it's good to just sit quietly." Okay, so we're on chapter Tzadik Daled 94. And I want to thank Rochel Bas Bunyamasha and Paris Moshe Ben Chana Esther and Chaya and Eliyahu Frischman for helping me to Zoom with better equipment, and her for Shlema for Sarah Bashira, and for everybody on all the lists, everybody on my list, everybody on your list, all the Shidduchim lists, all the lists. Hashem knows how to read them in a split second, not even a second. So everybody should have what they want and what they need. What you need should be what you want. Everything should be sweetened. And the Geula should come b'rachamim. Yesterday, somebody sent me a clip of an Israeli girl. Now, I don't know if this is like a standard thing. So you can, I don't know if it's a standard thing. But it says in the Sfarim that the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed with fire, and it will return to us within fire. It will be rebuilt in fire. Whatever that means, we'll have to see how that works in the physical world. But fire, so sometimes when we take a passion of the fire elements, sometimes when we take an anger and we squelch it, we repress it, we suppress it. Instead of bursting out, we just keep quiet. Then that takes a tremendous amount of self-control to put out your inner fire. Sometimes, the inner fire is good. The fire of passion for Hashem and passionate love for our family and devotion and energy levels, etc. All of that is good. But we know that fire can get out of control. Fire can turn into anger, arrogance, control issues, fury, cynicism, criticism, all of those terrible words. That's all coming from the fire element. So when we can put out our own fire, sometimes we're enthusiastic unnecessarily. Somebody else is not holding where we're holding, and we transfer our fire to them, and they're not ready for it. So whenever we can take fire, the fire in our own personality, and somehow guard it, guide it, focus it, funnel it in a healthy, holy way, then that brings the Beis HaMikdash that much closer, because the Beis HaMikdash is coming down in fire. Fire means that it's coming down with a holy fire. Anyway, so somebody sent me a clip of an Israeli girl walking on the beach with a giant shopping bag. And she's walking on the beach, and you don't see her, you only see her from the back. And then all of a sudden you see she opens up the shopping bag. Forgive me if this is going to offend anyone. I'm not meaning to offend anybody. I'm just telling you something that inspired me very much. So she opens up the shopping bag, and she takes out, and she's lying down on the beach. She sets out onto the beach all of her wardrobe that wasn't so modest. She sets out a whole bunch of pairs of jeans and a whole bunch of pairs of other things, and things that were not modest. Her wardrobe, she lines them up on display in the beach here in Israel. And then she says a prayer, and she says that she made up, or maybe this is a standard prayer. She said, "Master of the world, I am now prepared to offer you a sacrifice. We don't have a Beis HaMikdash anymore, but I'm going to offer you the hardest thing that it is for me to do. and that is to keep tznius, to keep modesty. And then she gathered all, so she looked once more at all of her clothes, and then she gathered them all up into a pile and took what you bench lift with. You know, in Israel, we have these electric things that light fire, and she set it on fire. And there was a bonfire that she made. And of course it was, she did on the beach. The beach is not, there's nothing anywhere nearby, and it was safe. And she just burned up all of her unsneezed clothes. And she said, just like I sacrificed something that's so hard for me, Hashem, please bring Mashiach in fire. I gave you a fire. Now you bring down the Beis HaMikdash with fire. I was very inspired by that. Sometimes now, if we don't have to burn up. If we don't have stuff to burn up, that's a good level. But sometimes we have things that we can burn up. For example, let's say you're disappointed in someone, you're upset with somebody. Whatever it is, write it down. You could write down a whole list of the negativity in your life, and then burn it up. Write it on a piece of paper. Take the piece of paper to your stove, burn it up, and give your sacrifice to Hashem. Or let's say you have a desire that's inappropriate. Write it down, burn it up. Say, Hashem, that's my sacrifice to you. Because the majority of the world, planet Earth right now, is in an amazing heat wave. I don't know if that's why I asked you what your weather is like. The majority of the world, in different sections of the world, are having a huge, it's an irregular, unusual heat wave. So people are talking about this idea that the Gemara says that Hashem, at the end of time, Hashem will take the sun out of its sheath. The sheath means there's a protective covering around the sun. Now we know that it can't possibly be a piece of cellophane, or right, because the sun would burn anything up. There's some kind of a force field that Hashem put around the sun. Some people will call it the ozone layer, whatever it is. And the Svarim say, the Zohar says, and the Gemara says that when Mashiach is coming, Hashem will take that, will take the sun. 1 second. And remove the sun from its protective covering and shine it on us. Those who are righteous will be healed by this. Those who are not righteous, the opposite will happen to them. So it's interesting what we're going through now. Dafka in the 9 days, I don't remember such a prolonged, we're having it here in Eretz Yisrael also. It's not impossible here at all, but I don't remember such a long period. It's been since last week, at least a week. This has been at least a week, at least since last Thursday, at least. And we don't really have an end date for this amazing weather that we're having. I wonder, Shoshana, what it's like in RBS, which is generally warmer than Yerushalayim Kodesh. Okay, so that's what's going on here. Bezrat Hashem, let it be good. Let us be healed by it. Before we learn the Tehillim, I want to tell you a teaching because I don't want to forget it. Actually, I'll do it at the end. So remind me, 5 minutes before I'm about to end, everybody start yelling and screaming that I should tell you what I want to. It should be better at the end because then you'll remember it more. Okay, what pasuk are we up to? We're in Sadik Dalit 94. What pasuk?
I think Chet.
Yeah.
We did
Okay.
Zion, so I think Chet.
Okay, good. Now remember that this is one of the 11 prakim that Moshe Rabbeinu wrote, from 90 until 100. All of those Moshe Rabbeinu wrote, and every one of them is included at some point in our tefillah, in our siddur.
So it is Chet that I think we had. Can I just add, please, Lily, Sapta Lily, I was there visiting at the hospital yesterday, past 99 and a half, and just a miracle happened recently, Rebbetzin Silber. Somebody contacted them from Boniad, where they're from, and because of everything on TikTok and all the things, to say that they think they might have found Safta's brother's chumash. Her 13-year-old brother, they have absolutely no pictures, no nothing. and some stranger called and said, and they have his name written in it.
Come
He
on.
was 13 years old, and that is what they have of him. And he was taken, went with his mother and him and his sister too, straight to the gas chambers. And they have now his chumash with his name. Her great-grandson went to Bonian to pick it up.
What's Bonian?
The area where they grew up, she grew up in Poland, in a little, in Hungary, in this small little sort of shtetl. And somebody contacted them and said, look what we have, and that's it. Is that not amazing? Yeah. So Yafa Scheindl Bas Nechama Nissel, and there's a question on her name, should have a refuah shalema. She's unbelievable. She had surgery last Shabbos, and last night she had a peaceful night's sleep. I think when the anesthesia does not do good things for people. So she had a lot of confusion, but Baruch Hashem. And it's just amazing when you see how Kadosh Baruch Hu wants to show us things and give us things, and you see it from one to the next. So she should just have a refuah shalema. So those are both her Hebrew and her Yiddish names they use. The Yafa Scheindl and Nechama Nissel.
Wow, Mazel tov on her recovery and Halavai Weitzer. Wow. That's amazing. I really hope she gets to talk on an interview with Mashiach Tzidkenu. I hope she gets to talk to him and in public, an interview. He'll talk to her. What an amazing thing.
Amen.
Find a safer from 75 years ago. Dafka now. Wow. You see, Hashem sends us kisses all the time. Rabbi Nachman says Hashem sends us kisses all the time. Sometimes they're really obvious ones like that, and sometimes they're more subtle. We have to always pay attention. Hashem is always talking to us. So, kol hakavod to you that you went to visit her. You could be our shliach. Send her our love. Okay, we're talking about. I began last week talking about this parak of Tehillim because we want Mashiach to come already, and we have a lot of people who are trying to make life spiritually difficult for good people on planet Earth. All of these people who are consciously trying to eradicate God from the consciousness of planet Earth, whether they're Jews or Goyim, eradicate the consciousness of God from or Jews or Goyim or anyone. These people, we say about them, Hashem, avenge yourself, avenge your name, and don't let these people who are your enemies and who are denying you and who are trying to convince other people to live an anti-God lifestyle, don't let them succeed and don't empower them so much. That's what this parak of Tehillim is all about. And those of you who are aware of what goes on in the world, it's unbelievable how corrupt the world is. I just, every time I read something else, I just laugh even more. In America now, I know you guys are not America, but in America now, they're trying to investigate the one who's sitting in the White House. His son did a lot of bad things, and there's a whole investigation in the American Congress, which is like your parliament, trying to investigate him, and they have all kinds of proofs against him. And one American lawmaker but the system is rigged, and they're not going to do anything wrong. They're not going to do anything to him under the current administration. So one of the Congress people said something like, when they had these two guys in the IRS, which is a big government organization, or the FBI, I forgot which one of those is testifying. They're called whistleblowers. These are people who worked in the government, and they saw all kinds of irregularities going on, and they couldn't tolerate it. And they went and they said, I'm going to tell the world what's going on and the secret behind the scenes things. And these two whistleblowers are testifying, and the congressmen are saying, and they have proofs. And one congressman or woman said, why are you being so picky with this president's son? You're picking on laws. You're being so picky about the laws. Why are you being so picky? Could you imagine a person in the American government saying, you don't have to be so particular about these kinds of laws? Could you imagine if anybody who's an enemy of them would be caught doing anything? They would be they would look like with a fine tooth, with a microscope to see what you did wrong. But with that other person, don't be so picky. Don't be so particular.
Rebbetzin, can I say, I follow the American politics avidly, and I've noticed that the people in the forefront speaking to the cameras are speaking more and more about God. I've noticed it. They're starting to see God in their lives. Very interesting.
Halavai, halavai.
Yeah.
Okay, you keep us posted, Sharon. You let me know whenever you see anything interesting. Send it to me. I need my the people who censor. I don't like to read the unless it's censored. If you can censor it and say it's kosher,
yeah,
you can send it to
I'm
me.
happy to do that. I'm happy to do that. Thank you.
If it's kosher and relevant, and a kiddush Hashem. Okay, so now, so I just want to go back to Zion for a second, because this is exactly what Pasuk Zion is saying. Vayamu, these enemies, these people who are trying to destroy children and trying to destroy business and the economy and all of this and creating wars in the world. All of these people say, Lo yira vayomeru, these people say, Lo yireh Yah, v'lo yavin Elohei Yaakov. God's not watching. He doesn't understand. He's not paying attention. These are God deniers. And even though, as I said last week, they'll take a photo up by going to their church every once in a while for holidays, because that's what they have to do. But their real mentality is exactly like the Tower of Babel. History repeats itself again and again, and it goes backwards. History repeats itself backwards. So the Tower of Babel, they said, we want to prevent the next flood. We're going to somehow go up to heaven and I don't know what, prevent, battle with God, fight God. God says, be moral, be honest, be good, be kind. And they say, be immoral, be weird, be strange. I think all of those things, all of those words now are considered compliments. Be Nabarim Ba'am. So now, Moshe Rabbeinu / David HaMelech is saying, you Bo'arim, a bo'er, it could be one of two things. It could either be a boor means a fool, or a bo'er means somebody who's igniting other people's unholy fire. The ones who are, creating all of the noise that's screaming and yelling about and trying to encourage the negativity. They're trying to wake up unhealthy fire. Hey, and so Moshe Rabbeinu says to them, why don't you wake up and why don't you use your brains? Uksilim, matai taskilu, fools, when are you going to finally use your brains, use your understanding? Hanotah ozen halo yishma, the one who planted, who made ears, you don't think he hears? Im yotzer ayin halo yabit, the one who created vision, you don't think he sees? Now, I'll just do the next two psukim, the next pasuk, because it's this beautiful pattern. Hayoser goyim halo yachiach, those who, he who is in charge of the nations of the world, you don't think he's going to pay you back for all of this? Hamalamed adam zad, he who teaches man knowledge, you don't think that he's going to come down hard on you? You don't think there's payback? You think you're going to get away with this? Remember, in olden days, there was the expression getting away with murder, right? That's exactly what people think they can do. They can get away with murder. And it's silly. Like, why are you... So the Mishorer, the one who wrote this Tehillim. So again, we have a tradition, it's Moshe Rabbeinu, and we have a tradition, it was David HaMelech together. Moshe Rabbeinu first wrote it, and then David HaMelech edited it, and he brew it and put it into Tehillim. So he's telling people, I want you to know something. You don't really believe in God. That's what he's telling all of these people. You don't believe in a higher power who has objective morality. You believe that human beings can create subjective morality. What does that mean? Objective morality means there's something that's right and something that's wrong. And God is the one who dictates what's right and what's wrong. objective morality. There's a right, there's a black, there's a white, there's a right, there's a wrong, and Hashem writes that in the Torah. Subjective morality is when I make up my own morality and I bend it whenever I feel like it. So the Torah says about stealing, about killing, about humiliating people, about lying, about, all of the morality rules in the Torah. The Torah gives us very clear definitions of them. And it's godly, so it's not yours to change. And it's not yours to comment upon. It's yours to keep and to observe. Whereas when you say, no, there's no such thing as, objective tznius. Let's talk about tznius. It's a woman's mitzvah. The woman's mitzvah of how to dress modestly. I know it's a sore point for a lot of people. Some people, it's their hardest mitzvah. When you accomplish it, it becomes your greatest power. I grew up in a very modest household, and I didn't have such a hard time with it. But people who grew up in a secular world, so for them, they never heard the concept of modesty. Except, let's say, for example, let's say you were invited to the palace to get an award. They give out these awards, your government, right? Your whatever. So they tell you a dress code. They tell you what you're allowed to wear. I don't know what it is, but I know that there's a dress code. You have to wear a hat. You have to wear a formal, I don't know what it is. Whatever it is, they'll tell you what the dress code is, and you will happily oblige. So why is it that when the Torah tells you what the dress code is, you sort of like say, whatever? So there's objective way to dress, and there's a subjective way to dress. And when people take the Torah's rules and they bend them saying, it's not from God, that's a major, major problem in our world. For example, when people want to keep Shabbos, but they want to do it their way. So that doesn't preclude, it doesn't exclude them from going in a car. Because they say, well, I want to keep Shabbos, but my keeping Shabbos, to me, Shabbos is going to visit grandma. And grandma lives 40 miles away. I can't walk there. I need to take a car. So since my Shabbos means to me going to visit grandma, I'm going to go in a car. That's called subjective Shabbos. There's not you're not abiding by halacha, but you're abiding by what you feel like doing. So here, that's what these people are doing. They're saying God's not watching, he's not paying attention. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, pay attention, you fools. Don't you think that Hashem knows what you're thinking? Don't you think Hashem knows what you're doing? Right now, maybe he's giving you a long rope. But there's an expression, you give a long rope, which the more convenient it is to hang yourself on it. Hashem is giving you right now power, and he's giving you the opportunity to again and again do tshuva, and you're just making things worse. I'm saying this that Hashem should pay attention because we're so good. The people who are holding on, that's us, for dear life, we're holding on to the Torah. You're coming to a shir, you're coming to learn Torah, you're coming to learn how to pray and how to relate to God more. You're all such wonderful, amazing tzaddikas women. I want Hashem to pay attention to us and how we're trying so hard. And we all have stuff. Everybody here has a hard life. There's nobody here who can say everything is perfect. Everybody has something in their heart and in their life that's echoing them, that's hard for them. And if you don't have it, it's because you're working so hard on yourself to be a tzaddikas and to say whatever Hashem does is for the best. And you're working on your emunah, but then somebody else who has a hard life. So Hashem should pay attention to us instead of these people who are not just, they're just going every day more and more outrageous. I heard one of the people in America in the government, a big government lady, I don't envy her in the next world. She said, they're so concerned about the children of America. If you're concerned about the children of America, then why are you messing them up? Why are you confusing them from age, whatever, the baby age, trying to confuse them on their identification? And then, it's like the Arab kids here. The Arab kids here, if you look at little Arab kids, they're so cute. They really are. Little Arab kids, all kids are cute, but they teach them at age 3 to start hating you. And so it's not their fault when they wake up and they have this hatred. And then they have to overcome that. It's a very hard thing to overcome an emotion that you've been raised with. It's scary because then everything you begin to question everything you've been raised with. So when little kids at age 3 in the Arab world are taught the Jews are bad and they have whatever all the negative things that they teach them in camp, they teach them, and in school they teach them. And then when they get to be whatever, a little bit older, and they meet a Jew who's good, and they meet and they go to the hospital and some Jew saves their life and treats them like a mensch and doesn't steal from them, which their own leaders are doing, and doesn't put them down, which their own leaders do, but they treat them like an Israeli will treat an Arab with with politeness and with how you're supposed to treat another human being. And these people don't know what to do with that. They don't know how to react to that because they've been trained that everything is bad. It's hard for them. And therefore, Hashem Yodei Machshos Adam, Pasuk Yud Aleph 11. Hashem knows everything that we're thinking. Ki Hei Mahavel, and He also knows that those thoughts of the enemies of goodness in this world, those thoughts have no power backing them. There's nothing backing those. There's no reality to any of those thoughts. It's like the economy. The economy, now I'm not an economist, so if I say something that I'm not, but I just know like this. I know that in America, it used to be that all money was backed by gold. Let's say if you had $1, then somehow that represented the fact that in America, where they keep all the gold, it used to be in a place called Fort Knox. I don't know if they even have that place anymore, but when I was a kid, that was the place. So when you had $1 in your hand, it represented that you could actually take that $1 all the way into Fort Knox, and they asked them for that little tiny piece of gold there. It's a representation. They kept all the gold over there, and then you had like these notes, these stars. Now they say it's not like that at all. And there's much more money printed than actual valuable gold. And I don't understand what the economy is now. Now we're all trading pieces of paper that really are just a joke. And I still have pounds. I have 3 pounds from, remind me to give you, Belina, the next time I see you, you'll put in the sucker box in England, because nobody wants them here. So all of this money, I don't know how England's money is, but I will tell you that Israel's money, because we have certain economists here who are trying to keep us solvent economically, because we know that we cannot rely on any nation in the world. Somehow Israel's economy is good. I don't exactly know if we have any gold, but I know we have Hashem. So Hashem Yodei Machshos Adam Ki Hei Mahavel. The thoughts of man are not based on anything, just like the American money is not based on gold anymore. It's based on, I don't know what, like Hevel. It's nothing. If one day someone says, okay, let's be real and let's, nothing is worth anything. Also, Hashem knows that the people who are in charge are fools. The people who are in charge are fools. Now, we hope, we want to be like Beruria, Ashes Reb Meir. Beruria, Ashes Reb Meir said, the best case scenario would be if all the wicked people do tshuva. Reb Meir said, get Hashem to, he was davening to Hashem one day, and he said, get rid of all the wicked people. And she said to him, why don't you daven that instead of getting rid of the wicked people, get rid of the wickedness within the people by helping them to do teshuvah. So really, we hope that all human beings do teshuvah. That's really what an elevated level person, an elevated spiritual person would hope. Except for Amalek, we know that there are certain people in the world who cannot do teshuvah. Their evil is so through and through that they cannot do teshuvah. Hitler Yemach Shemo cannot do teshuvah. People who are so evil and they create so much evil in the world, they're beyond the pale. But regular people, like all the presidents and the prime ministers, they could still do teshuvah, because really they're nothing. They're hevel. They're nothing. Think about, a person who was kicked out of power. Do they have any power now? Are they significant at all? They used to be a big celebrity, now they're insignificant. That's how it is with them. And here comes the positive part. Now comes us. Ashrei Gever, says Hashem. How lucky is the person, Asher Tziyasrenuka, that if Hashem gives you suffering, but the Jew, instead of wallowing in the suffering, takes out, what is the lesson here for me? What is the lesson here for me? So actually here is where I'm going to stop and tell you what I wanted to say. Let's see, I'll mark it in my Tehillim, and maybe I'll go back to it. I'm going to now give you a teaching over, a Tisha B'Av teaching over. So the pasuk says, I'll say the pasuk again because it's relevant. Asher Gever, Asher Yasrenuka. Now we don't want Yisurim. So Yasrenu, the root is Yisurim. Yisurim means suffering. We do not want suffering every single day. We say, Al Tavi'enu Lo Lidei Nisayon, Lo Lidei Zion. Al Tashlep on Yisahara. We don't want any suffering. We don't want any Sahara. We don't want challenges. That's our obligation to talk to Hashem about. Our obligation is to say this, to pray that everything should be well with us and with everyone. When we see that difficulties and challenges and worries and anxieties are coming upon us, what are we supposed to say? We're supposed to say to Hashem, what part of your Torah are you teaching me? In fact, Chazal say something interesting. Chazal say that a person who understands the value of suffering actually desires suffering. Now, none of us, that's none of us. We don't want suffering. But we also understand that unless you've been through something, your heart is not expanded. Everyone knows, I tell this story all the time. Everybody knows I have one son and thousands of daughters. And so, I remember once driving to a shiur with another woman. And when I lived in America, I was much younger. And I was driving to a shiur with another woman who also had one son. And I was in a little bit of a sad mood. And I said to her, I'm having a hard day today. Maybe that's part of the month that was so disappointing to me all the time and whatever it was. And she started to give me mussar. Now, this is a woman who also had a ben yachid, a little bit younger than mine. She also had one son. And she was giving me mussar, be happy with what you have, and Hashem knows what he's doing. She was saying all the right things. Everything she said was 1,000% correct. But somehow my heart was not able to hear what she was saying. And I was annoyed now for two things. First of all, I was annoyed that I was in a bad mood. And then I was annoyed that I was so egotistical that I couldn't even accept her words of rebuke. So that was the worst. That shiur was, I'm telling you, anyway. And that was it. That was the shiur. A few months later, I go to this shiur again with her because we had a carpool. And I see that she's expecting, that she's showing already. And I'm making a cheshbon and I'm thinking, oh, when she gave me that mussar, she was already expecting. Why am I telling you that? Because unless you go through something, you can't understand the pain of somebody else going through that same thing. So now she was already past my pain. She had one son. Now she was expecting her second. So when she was giving me mussar, she wasn't giving me mussar from the same place I was in. She was already in a different place. And now I understood why I gave myself the benefit of the doubt, saying, now I understand why I couldn't accept her mussar, because she wasn't giving it from the same place that I was at. So when we get suffering, we all know this, when we get suffering, we can help other people who are going through the same suffering. And that's why David HaMelech, when he wrote Tehillim, he says to Hashem, take every suffering that he had, which he had a lot of suffering in his life, and he said, please Hashem, let everything I ever suffered, and I'm gonna go through it, and I'm gonna experience it, and I'm gonna daven about it, and I'm gonna talk to you about it, and then I'm gonna record it in Tehillim. Let that help everyone from forever and ever till Mashiach comes with their suffering. And that's why Tehillim is such a balm, it's such a healing, because he's writing it from the same place that we were in and that we are in. So he says, sometimes it's good to be chastised. Tiyasrenu here is from the word mussar. Hashem gives you mussar. Sometimes Hashem gives you mussar. And it's not the kind of mussar that necessarily means suffering. It could be mussar like Hashem sends somebody to yell at you. And that's a very sweet kind of a mussar. If somebody yells at you and says, why are you being so this way? Why are you being so that way? Especially if it's somebody who you love and who loves you. That's a very sweet mussar, because it's a very sweet rebuke. Because you know that the person loves you and they're not going to hurt you and harm you and judge you. They're just Hashem's shliach to give you a little bit of a wake-up call. Okay, so now I want to talk about the power of Tisha B'Av, because exactly 1 week from today, right this minute, okay, now in Eretz Yisrael, not in the UK, but in Eretz Yisrael right now is 12:42. That means that it is already past Chatzos, but it's not yet Mincha time. So let me just see. I just want to get the exact hour because that would be really interesting. Okay, so today, earliest Mincha is 1:21. Midday is exactly in 12:45. That means in 3 minutes is Chatzos here in Eretz Yisrael, and then you can daven Mincha today. Earliest is 1:21. Okay, so the Yenuka teaches an amazing teaching that I never knew till this year, and I'm going to share it with you because it's a very powerful gift. And he teaches like this. He says that there's a very special time to daven on Tisha B'Av for your own private needs. Would anybody in their right mind consider davening for their own private needs on the painful day of Tisha B'Av? We don't. And if we do, we feel guilty about it. So the Ram says like this. He says that when you finish saying kinos, the schedule on Tisha B'Av is in the morning, because the night of Tisha B'Av isn't so much pain, because we're still full, we've eaten, and we've had to drink, and we're not yet feeling so much sorrow, because you know that when you don't eat, you feel sorrow, you feel pain, you feel discomfort. So, but the morning of Tisha B'Av, that's the morning, M-O-R-N-I-N-G, is when the morning, M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G, is felt more. And what do we do? So we daven shachris, we say shachris. Some people go to shul. And then we say kinos. Kinos are all of the poems written all throughout the generations. They're written in poetic form. In those days, that's how prayers were written. It was considered like a certain level of, a high level of praying is when you write something and you write it in a thought out manner. Let's say a lot of times it's very important for us to write prayers to God. Like I told you before, that girl who burnt her all of her stuff, her clothes, and that we're immodest, she wrote a prayer, or somebody wrote a prayer talking about, the power of what she was about to do, and it was very relevant to her particular situation. You could write a prayer, write prayers to God, make your own prayer book, and read them. Everybody has totally different circumstances. This one has this issue, and this one has a different issue. Write your own prayers, and then talk to Hashem and read them out. Those are your prayers, and then refine them. You could rewrite it. You could write it in, sometimes you could write it in alphabetical order in Hebrew. You could put in a few Hebrew words. The more you put in, the better. You could write it in Hebrew. But he says, so we read the whole morning kinos as much as you can for as long as you can tolerate. I'm sure that in the UK you have what we have here in Eretz Yisrael, what they have all over in America also, that they give shiurim in the morning, because the morning is the time where really Jews should be together. The Tisha B'Av morning is a very, very important time for achdos, for unity. So it's important to go to shul. But nowadays we don't even have to leave our house to go to shul, because everything is live streaming. You could watch it on live streaming. So here we have the very famous Har Nof Tisha B'Av event. Now, because you're 2 hours earlier, so I don't know how that would, you could certainly watch it. But, so I don't know if you have your own, streaming event. And all of this is streamed or shown on Torah Anytime, which is a kosher website. Anyway, they give shiurim a whole, you say kinnis, you say a few, then the rabbi will talk and say a few Torahs, then you say a few more. It breaks it up. And it also, it also helps people like me who cannot say all of the kinnis. It's too hard for me to say all of them. So I can't, I pick and choose. But the Rav says like this: when you finish kinnis, and this could be any time, if he's davened by the nates, you're finishing kinnis already 2 hours before chatzos. So from the time you finish shachris and you finish kinnos, you have until chatzos. That's when you should ask for your own private prayers. in your own life, custom tailored to your life. Please Hashem, give me this, give my kids this, give the grandchildren this. Be very specific. But the Rav qualifies it and he says, try your best to understand that the chesronot, the lackings that you have in your life, and the things that you're praying for and praying about are really a reflection and a manifestation of the fact that Mashiach is not here yet. So let's say you're praying for somebody to feel well. The Zohar Kadosh says, and this is written in Tikkun Chasos, that the Shechina's the presence of Hashem, so to speak, if you could say such a thing. Of course, this is only the Saber Ta'ozen, which means to speak in a way that we understand, that relates to humanity. But Hashem says, when you don't feel well, says Hashem, I don't feel well. You have a headache, I also have a headache. When you think about, the situation in Eretz Israel and it makes you feel bad, it makes me feel bad. When you see you have a whole long list of people who are not yet married, it hurts me, says Hashem. I'm feeling bad for them. And I feel as if I'm not married, says Hashem. When you have a whole long list of people who need parnasa, Hashem says, I feel as if I'm poor, chas Hashem. Hashem feels the pain of all of these things that we are experiencing. So, and I'm saying this again and again because I want to remember to do it myself. When you daven on Tisha B'Av, and the Ram says it's a very misugal time. It's a very, very fortunate and excellent time to pray for yourself and your kids. This one needs refuah shlema, that one needs parnasa, that one needs a zivik, that one needs children, that one needs shalom bayis. That one, and all, whatever it is, try to figure out a way, and you'll say in English if that's your mother tongue, say Hashem, just like my nephew and my niece need shalom bayis, so too you need shalom bayis with us, because we're not, so to speak, married, or we're not getting along. How do I know I'm not getting along with you, Hashem? Because I'm not doing all of your things that you're telling me to do. And you're not doing the things that I'm telling you to do. So there's a separation a little bit between us. So just like my niece and nephew need that, I'm asking you, Hashem, between us and the Jewish people. That's how you daven on Tisha B'Av. Trying to feel the pain of, now again, Hashem in his essence has no pain. He has nothing that we can relate to. But he allows us to relate to him in the ways that he created humanity. Hashem created humanity with a certain consciousness, and we can talk to Hashem in that consciousness. That's why on Tisha B'Av you're allowed to pray for your own private needs, because the Rav says, I'm sure that when you pray for your own private needs, you will include everybody in those prayers, not just you, but first of all, let's say you're praying for healing for people. So, let's say, somebody, a neighbor who needs healing, whatever and you're praying for them. Hashem says, I'm sure that you're going to pray for all the healing of the whole world. The whole Jewish people need healing. And so expand your prayer from your own private need to the whole Jewish people, and then to Hashem's presence in this world. Because Hashem's presence in this world is eclipsed, it's darkened, it's not strong when Jewish people suffer. We are his representations in this world. We, me and you. When we have a life that's imperfect, people will say, look at that, she's so religious and she has an imperfect life. And that itself is a chilul Hashem, is a desecration of Hashem's name, is a weakening of the awareness of God in this world. You get it? You understand? So here, when the pasuk says, how fortunate is a person that God is giving them either rebuke or suffering, and that person takes the suffering and tries to use it as a Torah, as a teaching, and as a tefillah, as a prayer to bring Mashiach closer. That exact thing that you're patching me with, Hashem, is that exact tool I'm going to use to try to bring Mashiach closer. That's the prayer on Tisha B'Av. After you've said Kinnis, he says, then you're in a very exalted state. You've just, sometimes the Kinnis is very hard. You could say it in English, you can, or you could look at the Hebrew and then look at the English, however you do it. But after you've spent a good deal of time, mourning over the losses that we've had, You've had so many losses, and all of you have had losses. You've all lost situations, things, you know what I'm talking about. So take your loss and say, Hashem, if I, who am a human being, I'm so limited, I'm so small, and I had a loss and I'm praying for it. The pain that you feel, Hashem, at my pain is so enormous. Just like the love that Hashem has for us. When we love him, Hashem reciprocates with infinite love that we can't perceive. So too, when we have pain, Hashem reciprocates with pain that we can't imagine, that he's, so to speak, suffering, so to speak. When you daven like that, your prayer on Tisha B'Av is a very, very powerful prayer to bring Mashiach. Okay, ladies, anybody has a question or a comment? I normally don't do this, but I'm not going to see you for a while. Anybody, because we're going to take now a little bit of a break, right? Not next week, we're not going to have, it's Tisha B'Av, and then we're on Beinas Lanim, and then Rebbetzin Rochel says, you guys go on vacation. I hope some of you are going to come here. If you're going to come here, come here. Who has something they want to share?
Can I share something?
Yeah.
Haley.
Hi, Haley.
So my one of my nisyonos in Tammuz is that my oven has been broken now for like the whole month, and we have had six engineers come. And interesting also, the oven is running too hot. It just runs at top temperature.
And
my
burnt your
air
apricot
conditioning.
cake.
Oh yeah. Oh, so you know, I forgot, you know. And also our air conditioning is broken. So too much heat. So that's quite like an interesting link with the fire element. Anyway, so the guy's supposed to come at like 7 this morning, doesn't show up. So I'm like, well, I need to make my sourdough and I need to make it at top temperature so I can use my oven for this. Anyway, put it in, like it's been in for 10 minutes. So it's kind of doing its thing. And I see him pull up outside and I'm like, oi. And I said, Hashem, please just make him go away for half an hour. He didn't even get out his car. He turned the van around and he left until 5 minutes after the sourdough came out, and he came back. And I just was like blown away. And I was like, Hashem, you're amazing. I love you. Thank you. I must share this story. So there you go.
Wow.
A nice story.
Okay, let's come to you. Let's thank you, everybody, saying for all the nice comments you're sending me. Please, Hashem, we need Haley's kitchen to be back into shape. And we need her air conditioning. She needs her air conditioning. Hashem, Haley was so machnis oreach. You did such a haknasas orachim to me. We had such a beautiful time together when I was there. So, in that merit, your kitchen should be back to normal.
Oh man, there were other things to daven for, but anyway, I just thought that was beautiful.
It's the oven. It's not just for you, Haley. The oven's for your family and all your guests and everything. So it's not such a selfish thing to daven for to be repaired.
True. We've managed for a month now. We can continue managing.
I'm wondering, why in the world can't you get your oven fixed? Like, that's crazy.
He comes, they order the wrong part, they go back, the guy says actually it's something else, and then it's just it will get fixed. It's not a big deal, but it's just quite funny.
It's really funny. Okay, but you're paying attention.
Our washing machine went the day before Erev Tisha B'Av. So it was just like, the wrong, exactly. But you know what, it's ready, and hopefully it said a week to 10 days. So no struggle on whether we should be doing washing or not.
I want to ask you something, Rebbetzin, before you go, if I can.
Yes, sure.
I can't get in my head what's going on with the countries and the immigration.
Isn't that crazy?
Why is
crazy
allowing this mix up, this cholopot of the world nation? What is happening?
Hashem, no, I'll tell you why. Because just like we're holding, this is how you look at current events. Just like we're waiting for Mashiach to come. When Mashiach comes, there's going to be a one world government. What does that mean? The whole world is going to be following God.
Yeah.
And the whole world will be enamored of the teachings of Mashiach came. Until then, at the very end of time, the side of evil is battling, going crazy, trying to make the biggest bilbo in the world possible.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why the nation is in America, why they're allowing foreigners in and giving them all kinds of benefits. If you wanted to come, you'd have to get a visa. When people do things legally, they get in all kinds of trouble. But when they do things illegally, they're trying to show you that rules don't count. They're trying to make anarchy in this world, and everything that you see is just a reflection of that. So when I see it, I say, oh, that means that they're really, because these are all minions, these are all servants of the Satan, of the Yetzer Hara, of the power of evil that Hashem is going to soon take away from the world. And the power of evil feels that its demise is coming, and so it does the craziest things to try to keep alive. But in the end, good wins out. But you see the absurdity of the nations of the world. Absurd.
They're mad. They've gone mad.
Yeah.
They've gone mad.
Yeah.
Rabbi Kessin says it's the evil, it's the Satan is dying. He speaks about that.
Yeah. They've gone crazy. And they don't, and you know, people are being threatened. Good people are being threatened that if you do the wrong thing, they're going to throw you into jail.
Yes.
If you're a guy who's on the enemy side and you do the wrong thing, they ignore it. But if you're on the opposite side, they'll just look with because everything is now recorded. Don't believe that there's no privacy in this world anymore. There's no privacy. They say, you know, if you went on WhatsApp, they say this is nobody could read it but you. It's not true. Everybody could. People who know how to do these things, which I'm not technological at all, really, a little bit. But the people who are running these things, they know everything about everybody. Everything that you ever did, thought, spoke about, somebody in power knows. And if they ever wanted to get you, they have plenty of things to get you. So people are frightened. People are very frightened because they see that evil is really running out of its, going out of its way to control. But in the end, Hashem is in charge. Hashem is in charge. Hashem is in charge. Yoshev Hashemayim Yitzchak. Hashem is in Shemayim. He's laughing. He's saying these people are going to see, just like Haman in Purim. Haman thought he was so, and Hashem was laughing and saying, "Yeah, you think you're so what? Guess what? Watch." Wait, let me see what people wrote to me. Okay, so many things to read. Yeah. Anyway, okay.
Thank you so much.
But you can always go to whoever's Haiti. You can always go to your friend Mrs. R and use her oven. That's what I was thinking. Also, I was thinking that you should go to someone's house and use their oven.
Yeah, it's fine. Like if I need, I will for sure. Thanks, Rosalind.
It makes more achdus, makes more camaraderie, makes more joining together. Even though it's a big schlep, it's a big schlep to take sourdough to somebody else to work it through. But
Rebbetzin,
No,
can I offer
the
something?
sourdough's okay. It's the cake, but Rosalind's only 3 doors away, so it's not such a schlep.
cake is really you need cake. You need an oven for cake. I put mine before I start class. I put my dough up, and now I'm gonna go back into the kitchen. Hi Dahlia. Hi Sarala. Hi Rivka. Hi Terry. Hi Shalamis. Hi Carmen. Hi Mrs. Morris. Pat. Hi Terry. Hi Mrs. MK. Hi Geraldine. And Sharon again, and Haley again, and Naomi again, fortunately with your son, for me, and then.
I was just going to say that. Okay. And Mazel Tov to Terry on her daughter's graduation this week, and Mazel Tov to Dahlia on her son's wedding straight after Tisha B'Av.
Son's getting married? Wow, Mazel Tov.
No, Dahlia, Baruch Hashem, she had 5 weeks in between a wedding and an engagement.
Oh my God.
And we're letting her 14-year-old son, is he 15 yet? Dale's wait a few months. So
When I was there, Dahlia, when I was there, you were already, your son was already engaged?
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know. Well, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. Wow.
Okay.
Okay, everybody, wait 1 second. Don't go off yet. I see in the message. I can't find where this guy. Okay, good Shabbos, everybody. Go
Okay,
around.
good Shabbos, everybody. Mirz Hashem in Yerushalayim next week.
Amen.
And we'll keep you posted what's on when the next year is. That's
You
all.
will. Okay, just to remind anybody, if anybody wants to ever sponsor a share towards a share or anything, please let me know. It makes my life a little bit easier. But and this is very special for all of us. So thank you, Rebbetzin Silber, always for everything, for just being there and for inspiring us and keeping us hopefully on the straight and narrow. And for Ezra Hashem, I will call and check that where you will be during the time that I'm coming to visit my mother in Eretz Yisrael.
Ah, good. You have to come over. You have to come over. Okay. When are you coming?
The 3rd of the morning after Sheva Brachas for Dalia's son, the 3rd of August for Ezra Hashem.
Where are you going to be that Shabbos, the 5th of August?
I heard the Yanukas there, and I'm like, I don't know how I can leave my mother on that first Shabbos.
How did you know that?
Because I had Deborah here yesterday. She was here learning. Deborah Daniels, her son contacted you.
Right. Oh, right. Oy. Okay. Yeah, he's going to be. I don't know if we should publicize.
How does that work?
Because it's the bar mitzvah of his bechor.
The bar mitzvah of his bechor, and where does everything happen?
Open. It's a huge place. It's outside. So.
But where in Yerushalayim?
In Yemin Moshe. In Yemin Moshe. All right. He contacted me. Yeah, if you're coming, if you're in the neighborhood.
Where will you be staying?
I'm looking for a place.
I might have an idea for you.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Ooh.
Joanne,
Yeah.
my granddaughter is in Israel, thank God, with the reform movement, but she's there.
Okay, she's in Eretz Yisrael. Let's go find her, Sharon. I went when I was still with Habonim in the early days, so don't worry, look what can happen. I'm nachas for reform for my nursery school. Rebbetzin, you know Rabbi Baruch Smith, right?
Yes, sir.
So Rabbi Smith's wife and myself sat, we have a picture somewhere of us in Shabbat party at Reform Nursery School together. And her sister is Helen Boxer, who's one of my closest friends. So I say, we are the real nachas for them, my goodness, right? And Habonim. I was part of a big Habonim Garin, so, you know.
Part of the journey. That's it. All my prayers. Yeah.
I want to stay on with you all day long, but I have to go back.
Have a beautiful day, everybody. Make a beautiful day, as Rabbi Smith taught me about, I don't know how many years ago. And Be'ezras Hashem, a beautiful Shabbos.
Mr. Shabbos.
And that we'll see everybody soon. So thank you all for being with us. Rivka, nice to have you there with us.
Thank you. The boys have gone. Bye-bye.
See you, Naomi.
Bye.
The boys are gone, Sharon. Are you quiet and lonely?
I'm very sad, actually.
Oh, what are we going to do? Can we import a few? Who's going to be the next lodgers in the house?
He wants to get a couple of tenants in, but the boys are mostly gone now, and it's left a big void for me, actually.
Well, listen, Davin, that the tenants are people that are going to be good for you. That's all.
Amen. I want to Davin that I move on as well.
Yeah, but Ezra Hashem, we're all going to move. Start packing your bags.
Okay. Hashem knows what
I told the girls this week, I said, you know, we've got to imagine ourselves getting to Eretz Yisrael now before Tisha B'Av. You know, we've just got to imagine, you've got to put it there. And then I said, do you know that EasyJet is taking 3 suitcases for free for people? And they were like, what? I said, yeah, we've got to imagine that. And then Mashiach's probably coming. You know, you've got to just put it as a visual, as a reality. And everybody laughed. I said, but that's what we've got to do, because we don't make it happen and make it our thing. It's not going to work. Okay, beautiful Shabbos, and looking forward to traveling soon.
I've got a book for you as well at some time when you're in Edgware.
Okay.
Forgiveness. I meant to give it to you last year, and I wanted to just look at it again. It's the Forgiveness book by Rabbi Twersky.
Okay, wonderful. We'll speak soon.
Speak soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, make a beautiful day. Nice to see you, Rosalind.
The Shabbos, yeah, thanks.
Shabbos.
Hi, Rosalind. Hello.
Yes, hi Sharon. Yeah, see you, well, good Shabbos. Have a good, everyone, Tisha B'Av should be a Yontif.
Amen. From your mouth to Hashem's ears, and for it to be.
Amen. See you.
Yes, Hashem.